Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is Joe Campbell. I am giving you another update on our latest. We have the PPP um, update. The union is calling the officers in to talk about what happened with the PPP loan. To catch some of you guys up, the PPP loan was about the union taking a $2.87 million payroll protection loan, even though in 2020 and 2019 they didn't lose anybody. They didn't have any lost personnel. Transit workers didn't stop working, and we wound up having actually a profit down at the Union Hall because we were all paying dues. We were all working, minus those that were sick or passed away. But for the most part, they didn't do Family Day. They didn't do Russian Day, the big ones. They didn't do Albany. They didn't do any of the parades or any of the ethnic celebrations. So we wound up, coming out ahead of the game. Um, Now, I know that the government was letting people or organizations collect these loans. And I looked at some of the unions that had taken the loan. And what I came up with was, like the hospital, um, I'm sorry, the hotel and entertainment industry. Of course, that collapsed during the COVID outbreak. Of course, those unions had to, take those loans to maintain their staff. But Local 100 didn't do that. Local 100 didn't lay anybody off. Local 100 didn't suffer a loss at all. So my beef with this thing is the union is putting out some ambiguous language that is all common sense stuff you can get online, with no logo, no heading, no. You know how the four of them like to put themselves on everything, the top four? Well, none of them are on there either. It's almost like they're putting out this stuff, but they're putting it out in a way that won't go back to them if anybody were to investigate. So PPP wasn't just for people to loot. It wasn't this big cookie jar that you reached in and you grabbed a bunch of cookies. There were a lot of um, little businesses that could have used this money if they had given more stricter interpretation of who needs it and who doesn't. I'm very disappointed with TWU. I'm disappointed that they actually they're defending this. It's awful. I think that there should be a further investigation. I think that money should go back right away to the small businesses who need it, and the Local 100 can at least one time not be corrupt and not be at the low end of the ethical spectrum. That would be nice. I really would appreciate that if they didn't embarrass us so much. This is a CED page per se, live. However, my partner in crime, Vitaly Yaрошenko, is taking care of other business, and he's got some things to give you probably on Monday, CED related. So I'm just going to keep us posted on the big picture stuff. So again, the PPP, CED chairs, depot chairs, MOW officers, they're all being called down to the Union Hall. They're all being given this paper. They're all being told that, yeah, this is all good. I still do not believe that the 398 employees that they listed is part of being ethical. It's not. It's actually pretty awful. They didn't have 398 employees, and I know that the boundaries for what you're supposed to report is wide. It's big, but it wasn't. They didn't need to do that. Bigger unions have taken less money. That's a lot less money. So again, we're talking $2.87 million in a loan. Some of it or all of it may be forgiven. And if they try to tell you, hey, we took the money because we could take the money and we found a loophole, that's not good enough. I don't want my union to run like that. I want my union to run ethical. I want my union to be above the fray, on the high road. Okay, I remember way back when there were these guys that used to sell us coke, like when I was super junior, they would come around, they say, oh yeah, Cope, it's the booze and bimbos fund for the politicians. I didn't think that was cool. I certainly didn't, oh yeah, yeah, we're gonna give them booze and bimbos. It was just a really awful way to be. I have a feeling it's like this PPP, it got me that way. The way they did it and the way I'm reading it, it got me that way. It just looks like gangster stuff, and I really don't want anything to do with it. I'm very disappointed. I wanted to talk about election stuff. This is important. We have an election coming up, and then pretty soon, starting in September, all the nominations, so on and so forth, are happening. Already, some of your more seedier officers in Local 100 are going around. They're uh, bullying people, threatening people, demanding loyalty. And I want you all to resist that. If you're supporting progressive change, which is the slate that we are on, if you're supporting progressive change, don't fall for that. And I'm not saying all these guys are like that, because they're not, but some of them are. And it's almost like it's a consistent group. It's, people feel threatened. Maybe their livelihoods are threatened. Don't tell them anything. Say, yeah, yeah, I got your back. Don't worry, I'm voting for you. Then don't. Change this union while you can, because it's very, very important. This road we're traveling down with this group of guys, this union will never recover from that. You keep giving them, another 3 and another 3. I'm afraid to retire and leave behind what? You saw what happened with COVID. They didn't take care of us. I doubt very much that Tier 6 will ever see an improvement, which is really a shame. I mean, maybe that's another show, but I was Tier 4, and way back when I was Tier 4 was like Tier 6. And we repaired it right away. I mean, all it took was effort. All it took was desire. All it took was not kissing the governor's ass, remaining strong and being feared, respected and feared, that thin line. That's what we used to do. We don't do that anymore. We're not even close. I wanted to touch on this Samuelsen phoniness. He doesn't like the governor anymore. I mean, we're talking about 11 years of devastation in this local, starting with Tier 6, and it didn't end there. And what we see is Samuelsen moving into the next category of whose ass he's going to kiss. He knows that the city is becoming, well, I should put it like this: people of color are moving into prominence and power. All of a sudden, Samuelsen's, doesn't notice the racist policies, or he notices now the racist policies of the MTA, but didn't care. All of a sudden, he cares about sexual harassment, but didn't care about it when all the women were running around in the union hall early in his term, and they were running for their lives, suffering from sexual harassment at every turn. And that was, he didn't notice it then. All of a sudden, he notices it now. So what he's doing now, I mean, this is a twofold thing. One, he is looking for a new ass to kiss because the political tide is changing. And two, it is an election year. And he sees that opposition candidates are tying him to Cuomo. And everybody hates Cuomo. I mean, Local 100 people didn't vote for Cuomo. Maybe staff did. All Local 100 was good for was a donation. And, that's so he's going to lose out on our $25,000. Doesn't care about that. Samuelsen is trying to look like a fighter. He doesn't fight anything. Name one fight. All he's doing is trying to look like a fighter. Hopefully, he gets fired from the MTA board, so it looks like, oh, he got fired because he's a fighter. Meanwhile, this guy fires everybody at the union hall, tries to fight him and Utano. So this phoniness doesn't surprise us, and it certainly doesn't fool us. He gets out there, he has to do it all in the press. Why? If you were just going to not support the guy, you just don't support him. You don't have to get out there in the Post and wallow in the mud with disreputable tabloids. Just don't support him. mean, it's not going to make a difference. I don't think Cuomo can hurt us any more than he has with Samuelson's blessing. And as you saw on Progressive Action TV with Tramel Thompson, um, Samuelsen had him at our 2017 convention, which was embarrassing. I was there. I challenged him for president. I knew that it was a long shot, but nobody ever challenges anybody for president at the international. So for the prior 16 years, it's all just been election by selection, and nobody was ever running for anything. So I took a chance and I ran, and I tried to out some people that needed outing. But I'm thinking that, hey, I don't believe that this is genuine. He told the delegation that Cuomo's our best friend. This is after Tier 6. Nobody who ever gave us Tier 6 should be our friend. And it wasn't just Cuomo. I had posted up a list of people, if they're still around, and we've been giving money to them the whole time. These are assembly senators, Democrats, Republicans, who all either voted or ran and hid and didn't vote at all and allowed Tier 6 to pass. This was devastating not only to us, but to any union that was looking for pension improvement. This is what Cuomo gave us. This is what Samuelsen, Utano, all these guys that show up to these parades with signs, Cuomo, this is what they let happen. They're going to do it again. They're probably going to kiss somebody else's ass who's going to screw us, and they're going to let it happen, and they're going to tell us how great it is. I want to touch on the farming out of our work and car equipment. When they originally signed the stipulation to farm out cleaner work, I got up in a lunchroom where I work in Jamaica Barn, and I said, today it's the cleaners, but tomorrow it's the car inspectors. Car inspectors, I'm telling you, this is just as devastating to you as it is to them. And of course, COVID happened, so the expansion of cleaners getting farmed out happened. I mean, at Ditmars, where I get on the train, there's contractors doing car cleaner work, terminal work. I'm talking sweeping and mopping up. I'm not talking about disinfecting. They're doing what we do. This is a huge failure for this union. It's a huge failure for the car equipment division leadership. Hope you're listening. And I think that if we don't get rid of them, we're going to face another 3 years. This car equipment, this car inspector farming out of the AC units, this is the largest farming out project I've ever seen out of our division. Aside from the cleaner one, which was devastating, as far as the car inspectors go, this was the largest. We're talking about a couple of thousand units, vendors doing this work. And this work we were promised. Now, just so you know, and this is for every farming out situation in every division, there's a grievance process. There's contract language that defines what scope of work means. Scope of work basically means you do this work exclusively. There is nothing about this work that you don't do. In other words, we drive buses. If they try to get another company to come in and drive our buses, we drive buses. So we grieve it, and the arbitrator says, yeah, they drive buses. So then we drive the buses. Otherwise, the contract language wouldn't be there. It's the same thing with the AC units. There's nothing in those units that we don't do. But where's the grievance? Without the grievance, you can't fight it. And I know they try to get cute. What they try to do is like, oh yeah, we're going to negotiate, and we're going to look good, and we're going to have all these numbers, and we're going to sound good to the members. Where's the grievance? Without the grievance, we lost. You're relying on politicians and management to keep their word. I mean, I read it in the newspaper article where it said management was forced to come to the union and get their permission. The reason being is because of that contract language. The permission we gave them was no grievance. That's the permission they got. For 10 years, I sat on the Farming Out Committee. And on the Farming Out Committee, I grieved almost everything. None of those grievances, maybe one or two actually ever got to an arbitrator, but for the most part, they were dropped because they were obvious. Management didn't want an arbitrator to make a decision on something that's obviously our work. So they would drop it and we would do it. Now, it's not like the whole agenda was all car equipment farming out. So most of it was MOW. MOW gets farmed out a lot more than anybody. I don't know how they tolerate it. But for us, in our facilities where we are, the demand to keep our work is not only that, but it's also to keep our tools and our training up to date. We used to do that all the time. We used to make management show us the training schedules, and then we would have the chairs and the chairs talk to their generals to fit people in where they could, whether it be AC training or propulsion training, air brake. And we got a lot more people trained. And in this way, when a farming out issue was being disputed, we could say, well, we do the work, and they couldn't say that we didn't have trained people. These are things that you do. You don't bullshit people. You actually have to do the work. Bullshitting is great up front, but eventually the truth comes out. And when the truth comes out, you get caught. I'm sorry, car equipment, you got caught. You can't explain it away. We were sold out. There was one other thing, although I don't know if you guys, this applies to everybody, and this is the elections. The elections, and I started talking about it, and then I went to another subject. The elections that are coming up are very, very important. You're not going to see a whole lot of people, get involved for one reason or another. And, when people have to take a second job because their pay has been decreasing, the value of their money has been decreasing over the last 10 years. The last decent raise we got was in 2011. So you can actually count, in large percentages, how much money we're not making now. Car inspector should be making $45 an hour. And what your title should be making, whether you be bus operator, conductor, you know what you should be making compared to what you are making. So when people have to work other jobs or have other hustles, they can't really get involved in their union, and they can't come to meetings. And the meetings aren't really that, they're not, uh, the word I'm looking for, convenient. They're very hard to get. You got to go all the way to downtown Brooklyn. Worst place for Union Hall. And so you're going to have a finite number of people that are running. And then on top of that, with intimidation, demanding loyalty, the ugly part of elections, threatening people, you're going to find that you don't have a whole lot of people running on an opposition ticket, but on the incumbent ticket, it's full as hell because they have the money to pay people and give them release time and promise and things. Most of the time, those promises don't happen, by the way. So I'm sorry to tell you that, but most promises of release time in the future don't take place. Anyway, but the people that are trying to run and make a difference, you give them respect, give them the courtesy of listening. They're, not everybody's perfect, but I will tell you this: anybody that's saying that experience is everything, experience is not everything, because with experience, look what we got. What you really want, experience comes with experiences. I have experience. I can give anybody my experience. I can give anybody my knowledge. But I want integrity. I want intelligence. I want vision. Those are the three things I want. The drive to make things better, to wake up in the morning knowing that when you go to sleep, you tried to make things better, or you succeeded in making things better. You succeeded in changing the game rather than playing by the rules. It's another thing. You cannot fix anything without changing the rules. You're playing cards, but you don't have any face cards. You're playing poker, you don't have anything above a 7 ever. My management under those rules wins all the time. What you want to do is you want to change the rules so you get the even hands. That's what we want to do. That's the vision. In not just car equipment, it could be car equipment. You have a lot of chairs that have been around a while, so they do remember this back from the day. We used to train our officers. Two different kinds of training. One was new officer training, and the other one was officer training. and the officer training would take place locally, but the new officer training would take place I remember we went to near Baltimore or in Baltimore. It was a college that was meant for labor studies, and they had dorms. They had, you know, like a bar, a theater, and you stayed there for I think we stayed there for 5 days back in 2004, and everything you can think of was on the agenda. Compensation, negotiations, role play. Uh, so many things that make you think, you know, like it's they're like college courses, and we need to get back to that. I'm big on education. We win this election, we are going to train everybody. You should not walk into a union office and the union reps that are there cannot handle a simple compensation complaint. That should not happen. Everybody should know the basic compensation situation that you find yourself in. Oh, I didn't get paid. What's the next step? We can set up a compensation desk at 180 Livingston. However, you can't have that desk inundated. Union reps should not be giving phone numbers as answers. If you set up a compensation desk at 180 Livingston, only officers and reps or members who don't have a rep. You have a lot of people in the field that don't even know where their rep is or can't get a hold of them. Those are the ones that should take care of that service. But in those offices, no station agent should walk into a depot and not walk out there with the answer or the solution to their problem. We want to make sure that everybody knows how to fix comp, how to fix sick situations, how to fix your medical. They're not paying your medical bill. So many different things that member services do, but don't have to be given to member services. That should happen right there. The connections, who did I have to call? The compensation people. We used to call them ABC people because on the phone list, they were listed in alphabetical order. And then of course the A, B, C, whatever your name starts with, your last name. So they knew who to call. Payroll issues. Any rep should be able to handle anybody's payroll issue. It's just a matter of looking on a sheet and seeing whose phone number to call. So you see what I'm saying? We need to educate our representatives in the social work aspect of unionism, but then also to tell them why it's important to organize. This is a more difficult one. Organization builds leadership, and any leadership that acts as dictatorial or like engages in despotism, they don't want organizers. They don't want leaders. When Nick Bedell used to do those shop steward classes, they weren't just teaching people, they were weeding people out. These are leaders, these are followers. They want the followers. The followers will do the petitions, they'll get the signatures come September. It's not what we want. What we don't want to be afraid to train the next generation of leadership. And that's one of many, many, many things that we'll talk about over time. One of the many, many things that we'll work to improve through your interaction with us. I wish that this was more, you know, there were two of us so I could share this while I'm talking. But like I said, Vitaly is off taking care of business. I think we'll be back to talk to you guys on Monday. And I want to, you know, thank everybody for listening to us. Jamel Thompson has been giving everybody firsthand. He's been showing you the documents. Everything is proven. Nothing is a lie. PPP is unethical, what they did with the loan, what they're doing with it. And Samuelsen's ranting nonsense about Cuomo, who is a rat, but so Samuelsen. Takes one to know one. All that's nonsense. We're not fooled by it. Jamel Thompson's been putting all that out. Progressive Action TV is where you come to give your message. Donate to the Cash App. This stuff costs money. It's costing us money to give you this information. Please donate to the Cash App. Anything, $5. Keep us going. Keep us going. I'd like to start a podcast with, talking about labor in general. Give everybody the news from around the country, from within the international. Just a little heads up. American Airlines is trying to decertify the Joint Association, TW, and, well, I said that wrong. Let me go back. Members of American Airlines who are members of the Joint Association of the TW and the IAM are trying to decertify their current administration and bring in another union. There's a whole lot of legal stuff going on. Who gets to vote, who doesn't get to vote. Keep your ear to the ground on that, because that's very important. We're talking about, I think, 11 to maybe 18,000 members, give or take. That number's not important, but that that it's a lot of people is important. And if they're successful, TW takes a major hit. But either way, this is happening because of the TWU side, not the IAM side. And if this doesn't happen, if AMFA, which is the union trying to move in, if they lose, we owe actually the victory to IAM. Samuelsen looked awful during negotiations and wound up getting the union sued, even though they dropped the suit. But they don't drop the suit for nothing. We gave up something. We'll find out soon enough. That's Samuelsen's MO. And so that's what's going on out there. But I would like to give you guys do a podcast on labor, give you guys the heads up on what's going on, and see if I can't get you guys to really understand where we fit in the grand scope. This tiny little grain of sand in this whole big labor movement, which we wish was bigger. Who are the stars? Who are the goats? And I'll try to put that together and hope you tune in. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I will now share this around to all the Facebook groups. And again, donate to the Cash App. Vote progressive change when the time comes. And we'll talk soon. Take care.